PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Welcome to PCN. We would like to begin tonight by dedicating this week's show to David Gilbert, a longtime volunteer and producer at PACTV who passed away this past weekend. Our thoughts and sympathies go out to his family. He will be missed.
Thank you, Kim. Tonight on PCN, we bring you local stories from Kingston, Duxbury, Pembroke, and Plymouth.
We stop into the Duxbury Library for a family music show and the Pembroke Library for a fundraising event.
We also visit the Kingston COA as they host an Alzheimer's film showing, meet up with Representative Tom Coulter at a heroin panel discussion, and drop by a winter ball.
Doctor's Orders is back with information on varicose vein treatment.
We begin tonight with some young entrepreneurs from Plymouth who open their own juice bar. Anna Dabrowski and Dan Gallivan were old high school friends with a love for healthy living and healthy eating. It was back in June of 2014 when the two met up with friends on a beach trip that Dan had asked Anna about the rental cost for a storefront on Court Street in Plymouth. When she asked why he wanted to know, Dan said he was interested in opening a juice bar there. As it turns out, Anna also had her eye on that very same space for the same reason. The two friends pooled together their resources, and from that point forward, it was no longer a question of if, but when. They opened their doors December 28th. I stopped in after closing time to catch up with this enterprising pair.
Not long ago, this storefront belonged to a thrift shop. Recently, the space changed hands, and now two up-and-coming entrepreneurs from Plymouth are making their dreams a reality by opening a juice bar. Anna Dabrowski and Dan Gallivan graduated together from Plymouth North High School in 2002, and although they stayed close friends through college and after, their career paths went in different directions. That is, until recently, when they realized they each had nearly identical ideas for a business venture.
Both of us are health conscious. I had been traveling, doing fundraising, marketing, communications for the past decade. He has a culinary background, and at that moment we decided let's meet the next week and talk about it. And so from June to now, the reality is every day.
And that every day involves bringing something to the Plymouth area that, for the most part, was never there before.
Juice bars have always been popular on the West Coast, and Dan and I were seeing trends on the East Coast, certainly in Boston, and then slowly coming down towards Cape Cod. And, you know, wanting to be the first of its kind in Plymouth, not only because we love Plymouth, we were both born and raised in Plymouth, we wanted to bring it to our community and be different.
So far, it's been great. We have had such a great response from Plymouth and basically all the communities around us. They've really been waiting for this to come to the area.
So how did two people just entering their 30s come up with the startup capital? One would assume there were some pretty hefty loans involved, but you might be surprised.
We're in the corporate world the past 10 years, and not only were we working really hard, but saved a lot of money. And to actually make this dream come true, we had family members helping us build the space, completely flipping it. My boyfriend, my father, Dan, and I, for about 4 months, every weekend was here working on the space, and then Dan and I were financially putting in our own money. We didn't take out a loan.
Without loans, that meant working on a serious budget for ordering supplies and buying the juicer, which is a pretty big expense. They keep the theme local right down to the names of their juices and smoothies, like the Green Monster or Feel the Hydration, you know, kind of like the Marky Mark song from 1991. Am I dating myself now? For Plymouth, they've got the 1620, Browns Bank Sunset, and Sailor's Delight for the nautical theme. The name Vela is Latin for sails of a ship. They even use teak and holly for the bar top.
When you come into Vela Juice Bar, it's a bar. It's a bar atmosphere. People are talking, enjoying themselves, and at the same time getting healthy. So we're thrilled to be the first of its kind here in our hometown.
Reporting from the Vela Juice Bar in downtown Plymouth, I'm Brian Sullivan, PACTV Community News.
He has performed performed for Harvard, MIT, WGBH, and has shared the stage with jazz legends, and he's only 10 years old. Duxbury resident Henry Acker may be young, but he is already an accomplished jazz guitarist. He plays with his father and his uncle, both Berkeley-trained jazz musicians. Together, they are a family trio and recently performed at the Duxbury Free Library for an excited audience.
That's gypsy folk music. That's the music that they played around campfires outside of their caravans at night. It's been around a long, long time. Django Reinhardt made it popular in the 30s, 40s, and kind of faded away. And more recently, Pierre Legren has brought it back, and now it's becoming hugely popular. When Henry's guitar playing abilities took off, my brother and I didn't have much of a choice but to change our traditional jazz trio into a gypsy jazz trio because he's making a lot of noise doing what he's doing so far. So.
Well, the family has a sort of a rich kind of heritage in music. We come from a couple of generations of musicians, particularly jazz musicians. So, it's when we were, when Vic and I were young, we just assumed everybody played something, and I think Henry's the legacy there.
My influences are Stockello Rosenberg and Pierre Legren. Well, they're phenomenal musicians, and if you saw them, they would blow your mind. Frank Vignola teaches me just the basic stuff because I don't know how to read music. He's teaching me little bit by little bit how to read music. I've shared the stage with Bucky Pizzarelli, Vinnie Raniolo, and Frank Vignola. In a gypsy jazz guitar, it's like, as a regular guitar, it would have just like the same, like it would have a bigger hole, but this is a smaller hole, and
What's it called?
a petite bouche.
Petite bouche in French, small mouth. These guitars are designed specifically for gypsy jazz playing. And we play them with these very thick picks that come from Norway. That's how you get the huge tone. Anyways, these guitars were designed by a guy named Henri Selner. It's very difficult for other 10-year-olds to relate to music that was written in the 20s and 30s and played in a very foreign style. So in the gypsy communities, they're everywhere. 13-year-old, 10-year-olds who play incredibly. But in the United States, it's a lot more rare. And it's just kind of strange that that's what he was drawn to. I wish I knew the dates. I know we're playing at the Wildflower Cafe on March 2nd. I believe it's a Saturday night. And we're playing at the Beale House in Kingston at some point. From there, we shift gears into the summer concert series around Boston. So, Post Office Square and Moakley Courthouse and Harvard, and there's a lot of things happening. So.
It's amazing. I got my first guitar when I was 10 years old.
You did?
And I put it down when I was 10 and a half. I didn't pick it up again until I was 34.
Are you any good?
Now, 6 years in, still working on Hot Cross Buns.
Hot Cross Buns.
Yeah, self-taught, so it's a tough song. On a more serious note, the Wingate Healthcare recently sponsored a screening of the documentary film entitled The Genius of Marian at the Kingston Council on Aging. The film takes an in-depth look at one family's journey in dealing with Alzheimer's disease. PCN attended and met with caregivers from the Alzheimer's Association and Wingate to give us some background.
We are doing a film screening of the Genius of Marian. The Genius of Marian is one family's documentation of their life as caregivers, and the mother, Pam White, is living with the disease of Alzheimer's disease.
Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia in America, and it's also half of the Americans age 85 and older have this disease because age is the biggest risk factor, and people are living longer.
We hope that our audience would be, caregivers, people living with the disease, or really just anybody that's interested in learning more about how one family has lived with us. Alzheimer's disease has affected my family personally. I also have worked with people over the last 10 years that live with Alzheimer's disease, and my job is to help people to live better lives with the disease.
My name is Pamela White, and I am doing a project called the Genius of Marian.
I work for Wingate at Silver Lake, and I am the Special Care Residence Manager, and we decided to bring this movie to the community to kind of start a dialogue and for people to start thinking about maybe stages later on besides the community, because that's where we're at in our building.
The Alzheimer's Association is a really good resource for people living with the disease and family caregivers going through the disease. Also for professionals, the best first call that somebody can make is to our helpline. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's free of charge, and it's at 800-272-3900. Our hope is that people have a bit of an understanding of the disease and are able to reflect on what one family has gone through. It's very different for every family, but this is one example.
I hope that they're thinking more about treating someone with Alzheimer's with dignity, and that it's a very common disease, and that we need to talk more about it, and that we should do more to try and find a cure.
The Friends of the Pembroke Public Library is a group of people who raise money to help make the library the very best it can be. The Friends donated money last year that was used to purchase an early literacy station to help kids learn to read, as well as laptop computers used to teach adults computer skills like Microsoft Office. PCN recently attended one of their fundraisers, a trivia night, to find out more.
We are a group of individuals, Pembroke individuals, who are gathered together to contribute the time and the efforts so that we make additional monies for the Pembroke Library above and beyond what it's budgeted. Our big push this year is teen tech. Okay, we're looking to increase the technology in the library in whatever ways we can, partly so the teenagers can teach us how to be technologically what we need to be today. But the library has put together a lot of stuff that the town, everyone uses the library. If you don't, you're silly. It's right there for you.
We're very happy to have the Friends. It's amazing the amount of things they contribute to the library with all events like this for the fundraising. What they do with the money is they pay for all of our museum passes, which is a great benefit to Pembroke residents. They support our book collection. They'll buy a lot of special items for the children's room. And even more importantly, in a lot of ways, they pay for a lot of our performers. Performers are a little pricey and beyond our regular budget, so they help support that as well.
In the children's section of the library is a station, a technology station designed just for the little ones. We've looked at getting some additional computers and tablets and that kind of thing. These are the kinds of things that, but you know what? What we do is make the money available. As much as you guys here in the town of Pembroke come and assist us, we donate it to the library.
Tonight is one of their fundraisers. They do a variety of fundraisers, book sales and bake sales and raffles. And tonight is our trivia night. This is, I think, the fourth one they've done. And it's the first one I get to be MC. I'm so excited. And it's a fun night for everybody, as you can see. People gather with their friends and they guess and take their chances answering my questions. Those highway signs that say X miles to Boston, What exactly are they measuring to?
Well, we are delighted to celebrate Oscar Night here at Trivia Night in a benefit for the Pembroke Public Library. And the reason we've chosen Cagney is because it's just over the 50th anniversary of Cagney and Yankee Doodle Dandy having won the Oscar. And we decided to do everything in a very patriotic way. So we have our hats and we have our treats and we have lots of red, white, and blue chips and salsa, and we're excited to be here. And our team is called the Pembroke Smarty Pants. Well, this is, as you can see, it's blueberries and only the finest marshmallows that could be had at this time of year. Fresh raspberries, all done in the style of the American flag.
Put a feather in his hat and called it macaroni. I am a Yankee Doodle guy girl.
I think it's wonderful that people come to events like this because they know they're helping the library and they get to have fun at the same time, but I do think a lot of people come to support the library. Without the Friends of the Pembroke Library, we absolutely would not be able to offer all of the same programs we are able to offer now.
You know, it's easy to forget just how many programs they have for all ages at your local library.
They do. We do. We did that Frozen story for young kids, and then we have music, and then we're going to be doing a Lego program coming up, and it's just all ages, teenagers, adults, kids. It's great.
Yeah, it's really good for the community. Representative Tom Coulter held his fifth in a series of substance abuse awareness programs last week at Silver Lake High School. The educational program was for all parents and caring adults to learn about the very real epidemic of opiate and heroin abuse facing our community today. The panel program featured a presentation followed by a question and answer and can be seen right here on PACTV. PCN visited their resource expo to talk with some of the exhibitors just to see how regular people from all walks of life have been affected by heroin and how some of them have found their way out of this horrible situation. The expo featured area organizations, parent support groups, treatment centers, and a myriad of other resources connected to substance abuse.
There's no empirical data that can actually prove that DARE does or doesn't work. You know, you can't really have a study that says that kids who did or didn't do it. The main thing is treating the kids with respect. One of the things that's very valuable with DARE is the fact that it actually does treat the kids with respect and allows them to make their own decisions. We give them strategies and coping skills to deal with the situation, but realistically what happens is they have to actually make those decisions. By treating by respect is what we're trying to do is not tell them that everything is bad and that everything is horrible out there. We tell them that there are risks and there are also rewards to have in life, and you try to base it upon the fact that they're going to try to work towards rewards, goal setting, and try to avoid things that are going to be negative towards them. And that's why we're honest with how we explain about addiction and what those drugs will actually do to them. In fact, there are different times during the year where I show the long-term effects of drug use and how that affects people physically, psychologically, and also how it affects their family life and structure, as well as legally as well.
There's about 40 towns now that still have DARE. It has been growing slowly, so we're hoping to bring DARE back little by little, but the majority of state funding disappeared for DARE. So the departments that have DARE, it's because the chief of police and the people in town have said that it's a good program and they made the commitment to pay for it.
Well, we take first-time offenders, usually young adults or juveniles, and we put them through a program for if they're like a non-violent crime. And what we do is we give them community service hours, stuff like that, and it's all prior to arraignment, so we'll dismiss the charge prior to arraignment if they complete the program.
What we have here is the Photo Voice Project. It's a class put on by Brockton High as well as Cardinal Spellman, where they had students participate in a 6 to 8 week class. The class was a two-part class. The first half of the class is based on drugs, the impact of drugs, and the second half of the class is based on photography. As you can see, some of the pictures were taken all by students. As they took the pictures, they brought them back into class, had a discussion in class about what the pictures represented to the students, and then based off the conversation, there's some quotes that coincide with each picture that the students shared well in class. Some of them have a pretty powerful message.
So it's called the Brook Retreat. It's located in Plimpton, Mass. It's a 12-step peer-to-peer sober living community. Basically, me and Mike both recovered, and we're just trying to help the people.
What we're looking at right now is a community epidemic. It isn't a police issue. It isn't a medical issue. It isn't a school issue. It's the whole community. And this is an opportunity for us to come together and put our heads together and try and make headway into this problem to help each other, the families and the kids that are directly involved. That's why we reach out to the schools to do it here.
Kind of like me, I had to get out of town. You know, I grew up here, and I couldn't get clean here for the life of me. So I went north and designed this program, and things have worked out pretty good.
There are typically two pathways. The first one is to start with recreation drugs and work your way up to heroin because it's so cheap. The second pathway is when one is suffering from pain and they're prescribed an opiate medication like an OxyContin, oxycodone, Percocet, and they become addicted to that because it's not managed carefully. So I would say to all people that are suffering from a sports injury, be aware of what the limitations of that drug are and what the time frame is, that what it's prescribed for, and parents manage the prescriptions that are assigned to your children or even to each other.
I think this is a great opportunity for people to come here and get some information on the drug issue. Sometimes just information can get back to other people, and it can hopefully prevent somebody from getting into a situation that they can't get out of. So I love seeing so many people come to this. It's here in Kingston, and I think I applaud everybody who put up the tables to give out this information. It's really great and great for the community.
Our Doctor's Orders segment is back at Beth Israel Hospital in Plymouth to talk about varicose veins.
Hi, my name is Dr. Scott James. I'm a board-certified vascular surgeon at Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital in Plymouth, and I'm here today with PCN's Doctor's Orders. I wanted to discuss with you today a little bit about varicose veins. Varicose veins are unfortunately a common problem in both men and women. In fact, 20 to 25% of women and 10 to 15% of men within their lifetime will develop varicose veins. Varicose veins are usually caused by abnormalities within the valves in the veins, which can lead to either tiny spider veins or large bluish discolored worm-like veins on the legs. We currently have many new treatments which are much different than the older treatments of vein stripping, which are minimally invasive and very easy to perform in an outpatient setting. Patients can come in to our office, have a screening to see if they have problems with their valves and their veins, and then we can schedule them for treatment depending upon what the reason for their varicose veins is. Those treatments can consist of injections of medications directly into the veins to help eradicate the veins, or coming in and actually physically removing the veins after we treat the underlying problem with either a heat catheter or a laser catheter. The treatments are very well tolerated by most patients, and we have you up and walking later that same day. We now have much better improvements in the treatment of varicose veins so that there will be no more suffering regarding swelling and visible varicosities in your lower extremities. Thank you for watching.
Dr. James will be at the Village at Duxbury on Wednesday, March 18th to talk more about varicose veins and current treatments. The event is free and begins at 6 p.m. You do need to register by calling the number below.
The Wicked Good Cause organization held its second annual Winter Ball this past weekend at the Indian Pond Country Club in Kingston. The South Shore nonprofit was honoring 2 families in need this year for the Dressed Up fundraising event. This year's Wicked Good Cause is enjoying a wicked big turnout. There'll be dinner, maybe some dancing later tonight. Right now, I'm heading in to meet up with recipients, sponsors, and organizers of this year's event. The main lobby at the Indian Pond Country Club in Kingston was buzzing with hundreds of well-dressed people, enjoying cocktails and appetizers, socializing, and making bids on some impressive auction items. We somehow made it through the crowd to meet with the president of the Wicked Good Cause organization, Kristen Frazier.
Our mission statement is to help a person or persons affected by unforeseen accident, illness, or tragedy. Someone from the South Shore that may have had unexpected illness or been in an accident. This year we're helping a family with a daughter with germ cell tumors, as well as a family from Scituate where the mother passed away 1 month after giving birth to her third child.
This being the second annual event of its kind, we were fortunate enough to meet with the family of last year's recipient. Chris Madden, whose daughter Delaney suffered from osteosarcoma and lost her leg last year, had nothing but praise for all involved.
It lifted our spirits to see so many people come out and offer to support us and try and help us in a time when we were going through something that some people have to go through. Not everybody, but we were very fortunate to have loved ones, strangers and friends around who wanted to come out and help. And so this organization specifically offered to provide financial assistance to us by, again, holding events like the Winter Ball and allowing us to use that money for medical expenses, for care of my daughter Delaney through her cancer treatment.
Ben Lloyd, owner of Pangea Shellfish Company, was on hand to sponsor one of this year's recipients, the Light family of Hanover.
We are Duxbury residents, and a lot of friends are on the board for Wicked Good Cause. So we heard about it. We had been to other events as well, and we knew the good work that they did and wanted to support it. And it made sense because it was someone so close to us that was put through a bad circumstance, and made sense to support them.
Personally, this has been a dream of mine for several years to kind of get people together to rally around our community, and the momentum has been incredible. This is a way for people in our community to kind of come together and help one another.
For the Madden family, that help has paid major dividends.
Yeah, a year later, my daughter's in remission. She's in kindergarten right now, and really living, for the most part, a normal life, which is fantastic.
In Kingston, I'm Brian Sullivan, PACTV Community News. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to like PCN on Facebook and follow us on Twitter so you can receive previews and links to all of our stories.
Repeat times for this episode can be found at our website, pactv.org, where you can also watch the most current episode.
PCN In Depth is back on Friday, March 6th at 7 p.m. with a look into the town of Duxbury.
That's right, Brian. Each month we will focus on a town and look into its departments, construction projects, and local government happenings. For March, we will hear about Community Preservation Fund requests coming to town meeting and find out about community programs that are happening at the police department.
Sounds like a pretty informative show, Kim. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week for more PACTV Community News.